Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about.
Todas las cosas. I mean, everything theater.
Oh, that's what it.
Well, in case anybody, wanted to know if I spoke Spanish poorly, there you go. Anyway, I'm Benita Zahn,
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
and we're delighted to have you with us. And I think, Ellen, maybe it's the pandemic that's got me a little loopy. It's, right?
It's got everyone loopy, Bonita. I don't even know
Right?
what day it is. Yeah.
A funny story about that. So I normally, my other life at WNYT, if you're from the capital region, if not, you can still catch us on the web. I do a health program and I do it every Wednesday. And 2 weeks in a row now, public information officers have texted me the day in advance, panic stricken. Where's the Zoom invite? My person hasn't gotten it. I'm like, chill. It's Tuesday. It doesn't happen till Wednesday. And they're like, oh, God, yes.
You never know.
But we know that we're doing this tonight. We've got a wonderful guest. And I've got a special question for the guest. But Ellen, this was you got a connection.
Well, a very minor connection. But I'm going to totally embarrass myself now. I'm already getting beat red because, we've talked to so many wonderful guests on this show, but there are certain people in this world that just inspire us as artists. And this particular guest has been a huge inspiration of mine since I was very young as a writer, as a director, as a performer. We have the amazing Austin Tichenor of the Reduced Shakespeare Company with us today. Hi, Austin.
Well, hello. I thought you were talking about somebody else. I was looking around to see, wait, that guy sounds great. Who are you talking about?
She's available for hire if you want somebody to, write that stuff. We do it all. We're 360. It's everything theater.
Awesome.
Yeah, and Austin, I know you very briefly from you were so kind enough to come out and see a production of the complete works of William Shakespeare that I did out in Chicago, and that just goes to prove what an awesome person you are, as well as a very talented person.
It was very fun. I got a T-shirt out of it, which I can no longer fit into because I have put on the COVID-19. But no, it was terrific. So and now you have ditched Chicago for the warmer climes of Albany, New York.
Warmer is debatable, but
Yeah,
but yeah, got pulled aside by love. You have to follow
it
it.
happens.
It happens. But then, yeah, I got to meet Benita, and here we are doing this. So this
That's
is
great.
full circle.
This is what happens when they put two gals together side by side. It came because we were sitting next to each other in the dressing room when we did Shakespeare in Love. And it was one of those like Mickey, Rooney, Judy Garland, I've got an old refrigerator box and you've got some curtains and let's have a podcast.
I've got a microphone. You've got some bandwidth. Let's do it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Now, for our listeners who have lived in the middle of nowhere and don't know the Reduced Shakespeare Company, of which I don't think there are many people, because when we mentioned that we were going to talk to you, Austin, people were very, very excited. But you guys specialize in very quick-witted comedy. You have a quote from the Boston Herald that you are a trio of modern Marx Brothers, which I think is a great explanation of what you guys do. And
We paid good money for that quote.
And so give us let's go back in time. Tell us how you started with the company and how you kind of went up to now you're an artistic director. Tell us about your whole journey with the company.
Well, the company started in Lord have mercy, 40 years ago. On August 8th, 1981 was the first performance of the group of youngsters calling themselves the Reduced Shakespeare Company at a Renaissance fair in Northern California. They were doing a short, 20-minute version of Hamlet, very much inspired by Tom Stoppard's Dog's Hamlet. And it was a Ren Fair performance. So it was outdoors, it was funny, fast, and physical, and then they passed the hat at the end. And it was done for the love of it for many summers. A couple summers later, they did a short Romeo and Juliet. A couple summers later, somebody said, you should do the complete works of Shakespeare. You've done two, there's only 35 more. How tough could that be? And then, so the play that you did, the complete works of William Shakespeare Abridged, had its premiere at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in August of 1987. And the guys thought it would be their last performances, because none of them ever signed up to be professional actors. They just loved doing this silly stuff. Unfortunately, there was such great response to the show and to the style of the show that the company started performing literally in festivals all over the world. And so people began to drop out. And so my partner, Reed Martin, who I think, Ellen, you played, whose part you
I
played?
played the Reed part, yeah.
You played the enforcer of the comedy trio, and you were terrific. He joined the company in 1989. He and I had known each other, and also known one of the founding members, Jess Winfield, at the University of California, Berkeley Drama Department. Reed replaced Daniel Singer, the founder of the company, in 89. I joined the company in 92 when Jess left. And right about the time in 92 when people were saying, okay, you've reduced Shakespeare, all right. You're a one-trick pony. It's a good trick, but do you have any other tricks? And so we started reducing other things: the complete history of America, the Bible, the complete Word of God, all the great books, 1,000 years of world history, completely Hollywood, sports, comedy, Christmas, everything. And so we have just taken long, serious topics and turned them into short, silly comedies.
Austin, how do you decide what stays and what goes?
We are, sadly, we are slaves to the joke. We are whores for laughs. We will do anything, but we have discovered at least that not all laughs are made equal, and that we're usually aiming for big laughs. And so what we've discovered over the years, I mean, much like our namesake William Shakespeare, who filled his tragedies with comedy and filled his comedies with very serious tragic themes, we take the attempt to reduce a large topic incredibly seriously, and fight about the best way to do it. And it's in taking that seriously that you get not only a dramatic action, but you get a sort of event that our audiences kind of begin to care about and have a rooting interest in. And then that enables you to figure out, you know what, that laugh we don't need that laugh, because we're building to this big laugh, a laugh that's also a dramatic narrative point, or a catharsis into something completely unexpected. So that's one of the things. I mean, one of the reasons we started doing a weekly podcast, and we did a radio show, and we've done books, etc., is that in those media you can do other kinds of laughs. You can do, if you have an audience of 500 people and they're all smiling, going, "Oh, that's lovely." That's nobody wants to sit in that room. You want to be sitting in a room with people laughing. But if you're listening to something on your headphones and you're really enjoying it and going, "That's lovely," it's a different response. So if you're by yourself, it's one thing. If you're in a room full of people, it's a different thing.
Comedy is very tough. Not even the question.
Write that down. Hang on, I'm writing that down.
Hey, listen, been there, done that. When you bill yourself as the guy in ties,
Yeah.
But if your face looks familiar, just put a tie under his chin, and then you'll recognize who he is. But have any of you done stand up? To work a joke for a year?
That's an interesting question. None of us have done pure stand-up. That's an incredibly tough gig, and even the terrible ones I have enormous respect for, because it's a solo act. We're all theater folks and ensemble members, and we take our energy from each other. I think we're the comic archetypes of the company are sort of drawn from all the way back to Commedia dell'arte, where there's the enforcer, the capitano that Ellen played, the dottore, a professor type that I play, and then there's the arlecchino, the fool, the wise fool. We call him in our productions the idiot man-child, who is ridiculous but often says the wisest things, and it's the conflict between those three types. So I play guys in ties on television, But on stage, I'm usually the guy who's nowhere near as smart as he thinks he is.
And pace is such a huge part of your shows. I mean, it's just so quick. Is that something that is innate in performers, or is it something that can be directed and workshopped? How does pace come into all your rehearsals?
That's a great question, because pace is important. We have seen productions, not yours, but we have seen productions where it says on their website, running time, 2 hours and 20 minutes, and we already know that's going to be terrible. Our shows should be less than two. Honestly, there are very few plays that should be longer than 2 hours in my book. Certainly not one of ours. I'm not sure this kind of comedy sustains for that long, really. But I think pace is important because it drives the action forward, and also there are moments where things are going to stop, and those places need to have power and weight by the fact that they never happen. So if you're constantly doing dramatic, it's like going for every laugh. If you're going for something important and meaningful and slow every single minute, people get bored very quickly, and then nothing has any impact. So you want to earn your pauses, is the reduced short way of saying that.
How
Yeah.
much rewriting do you do? And really having to listen for those laughs and how big they are and the pacing on them before you say, okay, we're done with this one. Let's go look at the Bible.
More than I would like. There's something lovely about writing something and then going, I'm done. But some of these shows, Complete History of America, for instance, which we did there in Capitol Rep, I can't remember how many years ago. We pull that out every 4 years, Complete History of America, and have to keep updating it every 4 years. They keep writing history, so we have to keep reducing it. But there are also, a lot of the jokes are pop culture references. I mean, again, same as Shakespeare. They mean nothing to us 400 years later. And in our case, they mean nothing to people 4 years later, so we're not making, trust me, we're not making jokes about Cato Kalin anymore, for instance.
To which half the house listening goes, who?
Check
So,
your history books, kids.
right. We had I posted on our Facebook page that, we're going to be talking to you. And did anybody have a question they wanted to know? And Patrick White, who is a performer and a director locally, wanted to know what would the complete history of the pandemic
I
sound
wish we
like?
could. I wish we could reduce the complete history of the pandemic. That's the thing. We talked about that a lot, certainly in the early months of this. It's unfortunately it's current events, and that's not. Oh, just saw my cat run up the stairs. That's not what we do. Make jokes of current events. There are people doing that on TV every night, and that is such a great skill set. Uh, I like making jokes about stuff that has already happened. I find myself, there's been so much going on, not even the pandemic, but the political situation. It's, for my own self-care, I have to tune that out to a certain degree and just get the highlights off of Twitter or off of headlines or whatever, because it will drive me insane. Trying, in a year or so, maybe even in 6 months, I could begin to go, okay, here's how to make sense of this in a short, funny way. It's really hard for me to do it now, and nobody's paying me TV money to have to.
Now, because it started with the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged, and then you and Reed came on as writers and wrote all the sports, the history of America, all these other ones, and then your last two went back to Shakespeare. So, how have you kind of decided what topics to tackle?
That's we always try to choose the topic that we're interested in, that we love, because people think, oh, you must hate this, because you make jokes about it all the time, and really we're celebrating everything that we make fun of are things that we celebrate. Now, we got in trouble because I don't know, a few years ago now, we were doing a tour of the Bible, the Complete Word of God abridged, across the UK, and we premiered in just outside of Belfast, Northern Ireland, in a suburb called not Downton Abbey, Newton Abbey, excuse me, Newton Abbey, and they canceled our performances because some religious conservatives on the board thought that one shouldn't make jokes about the Bible. And it was, for 36 hours, I was the most famous person in the British Isles because I was the face of all of this, because I was doing all the interviews. And I was trying desperately not to be the atheist artistic a-hole that they were accusing me of being. But I did point out that, I've been married to my wife for over 30 years and we make fun of each other every day. You think I'm not going to make fun of a book? Come on. We love these topics and we live with them for decades. I mean, some of these shows we've written 20 years ago. So it's always got to be a topic that we want to spend enough time with. And several years ago, we wrote a book. We wrote a book illustrated by Jenny Maisels called Pop-Up Shakespeare. And it's a lovely pop-up book, and it's for kids, as they say, of all ages. And it really wetted our whistle for doing more, returning to Shakespeare. And we took a tour of the Folger, the private tour of the Folger vaults in Washington, D.C. at the Folger Shakespeare Library. And we said, what would be if they were making it like a Da Vinci Code movie about Shakespeare? What would the Holy Grail be? And they said, oh, a manuscript in his own hand. And it was just like, boom. It was like Las Vegas, the number of light bulbs that went off. I was thinking, well, we're not going to find one. Let's write it. And so then the argument became, well, we can write it, then we can reduce it because it's 100 hours long, and because it was Shakespeare's first play and he didn't know what he was doing. He was a genius, yes, but he had no craft. So we'll just write something that's a mashup of every single famous Shakespeare character and famous speech and put it into a brand new familiar story. And we performed it outside. And it was the 10th show, and it premiered in 2016, the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death, his death anniversary, and the 35th anniversary of the Reduced Shakespeare Company's first performance. So it felt milestone-ish. And then we said, that was so much fun, let's do it again. So we wrote Hamlet's Big Adventure, a prequel. It's the comedy of the Prince of Denmark.
Clearly, you still delight in this. I mean, it's palpable. During this time, the pause, that's whether refreshed or not, depending on your perspective.
The long intermission.
There you go. Are you writing now? And if so, how are you connecting with your partners for the writing?
Well, the same way we always do, across the internet, through email. When I joined the company in '92, I was living in Chicago. Reed Martin was living in Northern California, in Sonoma, where he grew up. And Adam Long was still in the company. One of the founding members still in the company. The three of us wrote America and Bible, and Adam was living in London. So even starting in '92, '93, we were writing shows via email and then getting together and working together in a room. In terms of the writing work, this pandemic hasn't changed much for us because we write in our own homes anyway. We've both been busy doing, Reed and I now are the co-artistic directors of the company, and we've both been working on our own private projects during this because we did have to write a new RSC show, but now we have a year to 18-month reprieve because we were just about to launch a sort of major premiere tour of Hamlet's Big Adventure, and that all got bumped to late 21, 22. So that show hasn't really even had its premiere yet. So so that's on the card. That's on the cards, in the calendar. Anyway, it's what we're working on.
Are you doing anything virtually?
We did a handful of guest appearances doing things. We were supposed to have performed at the Hartford Stage Company in June. That got bumped to October. Now it's getting bumped to whenever they can open. We were going to do the complete history of comedy down there. We did a live performance, a live on Zoom performance for them of excerpts and bits, and that was really fun. We did a handful of like Zoom reunions of, I think we had over 50 actors and technicians who have performed with the Reduced Shakespeare Company over the years. We put them all in a massive Zoom call. It went on for 2 hours talking to everybody. It was so much fun. I continued to do my weekly podcast. I recorded a few videos, songs and a couple of new sonnets, and put them up on our website, reducedshakespeare.com. We've started calling ourselves the RSC, the Remote Shakespeare Company, because that's all we want to do. But we're not, a lot of people are doing great, valuable work trying to do online theater, and we realized quickly that's not what we do. I'm gonna. When does this go live? Well, this live
Tuesday.
tonight. When?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. You mean tonight or next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. Well, then I can tell you that last Wednesday night, I appeared on Chicago Med. I did a TV gig.
In a tie or not?
Not in a tie. I'm not playing a doctor this time. I'm really branching out and stretching my wings a little bit.
Let me jump in just for a quick sec, Austin. Give us a sense of what it's like on a set right now because of COVID.
Well, I can only tell you what it's like on the set I was on, and it's the Dick Wolf, who does all the Law and Order shows, has the 3 Chicago shows: Chicago Med, Chicago PD, and Chicago Fire. And they have a huge studio down in near downtown Chicago, and the protocols are amazing. I got the gig just before everything shut down for Christmas. I came in January 2nd to take a COVID test. They're paying, I think, $1 million a week to test everybody regularly for the 3 shows, and maybe some other shows filming in that complex. I don't know about that, but it was amazing and impressive, the protocols they had in place to keep everybody safe. I went in, took a COVID test. It had a 48-hour response. When it turned negative, I went in, took a 15-minute test. When that was negative, I went for my costume fitting. I came back the next morning, took another test. When it was negative, I went to the set and we filmed the first day of my scenes. Same thing the next day. And everybody on set, from it seems like gophers to stars, are standing in line, getting their test, waiting for the results, going to the set. It's really impressive what they're doing. And they have the money to do it because it's TV and whatever, but theaters can't do that. So that's sad.
Is it sustainable?
Which TV doing that?
Yeah, to do it like that?
If people can continue to pay for advertising, then yeah, I think so. At least until we can get through this. Yeah. I think they can survive until we get through this. And I do think, I tend to be a Pollyanna at even at the worst of times. I think the theaters that survive will come back strong and hard, because people really want to get together. We know they are desperate to get together because crazy people in largely southern states, but not exclusively, get together without any precautions on beaches, in bars, and all over the place. I get that people want to be together, but the problem is you could open all these theaters, but the people who tend to go to theaters tend to be smart enough to know, don't go to the theater until it's safe.
Yep. What's with the miter behind you?
What's the what? Oh, behind the microphone. There it is. What? Don't you have one in your house? What? You're like, what do you? That's one thing I did do. An organization started up like right at the beginning, like mid-March, called The Show Must Go Online. And it's done by Rob Miles and his wife, Sarah Peachy. They created it. They started doing online Shakespeare because they knew this is going to go on for a while. And they're in England, and they have experience. They've been using Zoom for years before it was cool. And so they started putting casts together literally from all over the world. And I ended up doing 3 of them. They did the entire canon, every Shakespeare play in the order in which we think they were written, 1 a week, starting mid-March. They just ended in November, I think. It's incredibly impressive, a wonderful archive of really smart interpretations and readings of the texts. They do not replace theater. They're not intended to replace theater, but they have become really great, intelligent readings and interpretations of these plays. And to shorten what is already a long story, I played Cardinal Pandolf in King John. And you have to make your own props, which is again one of the reasons I don't like online Shakespeare. Let me just do the acting. I don't like to make the props. My wife made the prop, and somewhere, where is it? Is there? No, I can't see it. There used to be a crown. Here it is. It's right in front of me. There's a crown. We needed a prop for something else. So it's very. Anyway, The Show Must Go Online. It has a great YouTube channel, so I encourage people to watch.
We're gonna have to check that out. The Show Must Go Online. Okay,
yeah,
we're plugging that now.
No, I think we've probably reached the point of our show to ask some other questions.
This is the lightning round.
This is the.
Oh dear.
Round,
oh God.
Austin.
Okay.
So this
So
is this is the part of the show called the close up. So they're rapid fire questions, all
thank
about
you.
you, Austin. There we go. So Austin, are you ready for your close up?
Spit take. Yes, I guess I am. I guess I must be.
Excellent. So Austin, what was it? What was the moment in your life when you just knew you had to do theater?
I saw a production of the Wizard of Oz, done by, I think, a mommy's group that does theater for kids in 1963 or four. I was very little, and my mom used to tell me that I could not wait to meet the actors afterwards, and I was just going, oh. I mean, I think it was that, just the playing of the dress up, the kind of those people there, the audience here, maybe people looking up. Even at three, I like the fact that, oh, I could be in a place where people look up to me. Hmm.
And what did
Did
your
you grow
mother?
up in Chicago?
Oh yeah.
No, San Francisco. I'm a fifth generation San Franciscan.
And what did your mother think when you said, "That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be
It,
in the theater."
Tragically, both my parents were incredibly supportive. Um, I have my wife and I have stressed to both of our children, you must not go into this business. Not. This is terrible, terrible. And it worked with my son. It hasn't worked with our daughter. And
Oh,
but she's a theater major now. But she will go. Both of them will go into whatever they do with a lot more knowledge and intelligence about the business than my wife and I went into. We didn't know anybody in the business. And our kids know how tough it's going to be. So they have no illusions about the challenges facing them, no matter what they do.
you've worked all over the world. The Reduced Shakespeare Company has taken you to, off Broadway, to London's West End, and everywhere else. Is there a particular place that you just really enjoy going to, or a specific theater or location that was a treat?
Yeah, there's a handful of them. There's a theater in Reston, Virginia, just outside D.C. It's the Reston Theater at the Reston Center Stage, Reston Community Theater. Anyway, they've been booking the Reduced Shakespeare Company since 1988, I think. They have been related, involved with the Reduced Shakespeare Company for a year or two or three longer than I have. Every year we go there. It's only, I don't know, it's 500 seats. It feels like 200 seats. It's small. It's intimate. The audience knows us. We have a relationship with them. Similarly, we play Pittsburgh Public Theater and the Folger Shakespeare Theater in D.C. We played there enough times where we have these great relationships with the audiences. I love playing in England. It's such a privilege to play in England because they know us very well. So playing the little arts theater in the West End was terrific, but playing in a place like the Theatre Royal Bath is massive and gorgeous, and or even even in this country, the McCarter Theater on the Princeton University campus. It's where Our Town had its premiere. We play on that stage, and there are a handful of stages like that. Even performing at the Kennedy Center, like we used to regularly. I walk into those theaters and I go, uh-oh, I better warm up tonight. I am not good enough for these theaters. I mean, you want to bring your A game all the time, but some of these theaters you go, just the theater itself makes you go, I better dial it up a notch tonight.
Austin, what's the craziest thing that ever happened? The most like cringeworthy, or the one that you couldn't wait to go, knock back a beer and laugh about?
How long you got? It's there's so many, and they almost always hinge on mistakes. One of the oh, no, I can't tell that story because my wife will get pissed. But um,
Tell her.
one of these things, this is one of those questions that I get asked all the time, and I really need to have a go-to answer for, and I just don't. But the most recent thing that happened to me was that I just go, oh my God, was we were performing William Shakespeare's long lost first play, Abridged, at the Chesapeake Shakespeare Company in Baltimore, Maryland, in front of the Shakespeare Theater Association annual conference. These people know their Shakespeare, and they know they got every single joke. It was maybe the best audience that show has ever played to. And I walk out as Richard III, and I'm limping, and I'm limping, and it's a kind of a stage I'd never performed this show on before. It's a thrust stage, so it's like a horseshoe, and we got audiences on the sides, and the downstage is down there, and as I'm limping down, I'm thinking in my head, oh, I shouldn't go too far downstairs. There's people there. I don't go too far stage. All right. And then I opened my mouth to say my first line, and I said, "Now is the moment of our discontent."
Oh.
And I said an off-color word. I said the slang version of intercourse me, and I limped back off stage, and my partner on stage said, "Shall we try that again?" And I stuck my thumb out from behind the curtain, and he went, and he said, "Don't worry, I don't think anyone noticed." And so he introduced me again. I limped downstage, and I went, "Now is the winter of our," and got a huge applause. And everybody afterwards was saying, "Oh my God, did you plan that?" And no, I didn't plan that. It was absolutely a cock up. And the only reason we pulled it off is just we didn't pretend it didn't happen. You can't pretend it didn't happen. You have to lean into the mistake. So it was a lovely teachable moment. But and Reed said we should try to do that every night. That was too good. And I went, I don't think I can make it that genuine every night. I'm not that good of an actor.
And lastly, just for fun, what do you consider the best William Shakespeare play?
Macbeth. It's the shortest. See, that's what happens when you have a go-to answer.
I love it.
My other answer to that is not as funny, but it's true. I don't really have favorite plays. I have favorite productions that I've seen. I've seen 2 productions of Pericles that would make you think that is Shakespeare's greatest play.
Wow.
And most of the productions I've seen, for instance, of Winter's Tale, have failed to convince me much of anything. So, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
That's showbiz.
That, as they say, in the words of William Shakespeare, that's showbiz, kids.
This has been delightful, Austin.
It's been so much fun. Thank you for inviting me. I don't think we talked about everything, so I think we're all living a lie here about everything theater, but nonetheless.
We're like reduced everything theater, I guess.
Very good. Good answer.
But tune in next week, and we're talking about all sorts of other everything theater stuff.
Did you see they tweeted about this? NPR tweeted about this. I got a letter from, I don't know, a 6-year-old who said, I listen to NPR in the backseat of my mom's car a lot. And they say you talk about everything. You don't talk about everything. You never talk about dinosaurs. You should call it Not Almost Everything Considered, or do a show about dinosaurs and call it All Dinosaurs Considered. And they started running dinosaur programming.
I'm convinced his parents must be emailing me at work.
Well, that's, Benita and I were like, what do we call this podcast? What are we going to talk about? I don't know, a lot of stuff, which is everything theater.
I think the subtext is 2 chicks talking.
2 chicks talking theater.
Couple of chicks sitting around talking about theater.
That's right. And that was the other thing. Were we going to spell it common spelling or the RE spelling?
I know.
And we wanted RE, but London beat us to it.
Oh, interesting.
Everything theater out there.
I'm one of those nerds that likes to use RE for the art form and ER for the building, but that is not a practice that has caught on much.
Well,
I do, however, insist on using the Oxford comma, and I will fight anybody who says you shouldn't.
I'm with you. And double space, right?
No, not double space. We've moved on.
No, comma, got to have a space.
Oh, comma space. Absolutely.
Yes, comma space. That's
after a sentence, just a single space. We don't use typewriters anymore, just a single. That's all right.
Right, but comma, space.
100%.
It's the way it looks too. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm looking at the clock, and we have this little problem. We often talk right down to the zippity doo dah, and then you disappear. So, Austin, stay well. We all look forward to whatever comes out of the ether.
I can't wait. I can't wait to get back out on the road, and my wife really can't wait for me to go back out on the road. We haven't spent this much time together in our entire 30-year relationship, so but we're all right. But I see we have 3 minutes left in this waiting in our Zoom time, so we can just spend the next 3 minutes saying goodbye.
Oh yeah.
Bye-bye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen.
In the
Yeah,
spirit of Christopher Plummer.
right.
Actually, real
Yes.
quick,
Who
talking about.
hated that role, but
Oh,
I
I
know.
know, I know.
He made his peace with it, but yes.
I was going to say very, very quickly because you mentioned your wife. So I was looking. Have you guys have renamed the Millennium Musical, and it's now, and you can do it now without it being linked to the Millennium?
Yeah, it's we retitled we now call it Western Civilization: The Complete Musical Abridged. It's 1,000 years of world history, and just to make it more difficult, you sing and you dance. And my wife was in the original production with us when we called it the Complete Millennium Musical Abridged. But all of our scripts, except for Hamlet, Hamlet's Big Adventure, which is still new, all of our scripts can be licensed and performed by any group that wants to do them.
See,
So
that's so exciting because I loved seeing you guys at the Kennedy Center when you brought that show there. And so, but I thought, oh, you can only do it in the Millennium. But now I got to get those rights. I'm going to
I
track down.
forgot that you and I go back that far.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a Kennedy Center girl. I saw everything there growing up.
You were 7?
No, I was a teenager. I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you again, Austin. This has been such a delight, and we'll look forward to keeping an eye on what happens when everything starts moving forward again and
I
hearing more about
I
the new
can't
show.
wait. I'm on Twitter at Austin Tichenor or at Reduced on Twitter, and our website is reducedshakespeare.com. So check us out. We'll be coming to a theater near you sometime soon.
Excellent. And for all our listeners, thank you so much for being with us again today. Check out our backstage episodes with me and Benita, our new bi-weekly, is that right? Yeah. Bi-weekly episode where we talk about all sorts of random things, just the two of us. And we'll catch you guys next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
Benita's on. Thanks for spending time with us.